Hi everyone, welcome to my very first video. In this video, I want to show something that I have learned today. I want to show you how you can schedule, terminate, and then rebuild your Beanstalk environment using Lambda functions. We will write two Lambda functions, one for terminating the environment and another one for rebuilding it. And we will use event-bridge triggers to make these functions work at specific times. Alright, let's get started. So here I am in my AWS Management Console. Let me just quickly show you my Beanstalk environment. We can go to the search bar and type, here it is. We can put this star button on so it appears in here. So let's go in. So here is my Beanstalk environment. I'll quickly show you what it's doing. It's a simple web server. So this is the simple website. It has few tabs. We can check the projects tab. There's a weather up in here, which is pretty simple. You can just put any city name and check the weather. Yeah, just like that. So yeah, that's that. Whenever a Beanstalk environment is created, it creates an S3 bucket automatically. So if we go to my S3 bucket, we can see there's the Elastic Beanstalk bucket. So we need to give our Lambda functions proper access for both Beanstalk and S3. So for that, we will use IAM. So let's go to the search box again and type IAM. Here it is. In here, we will create our role for our Lambda functions. So let's go to roles and we will create a role. And yes, we want the trusted entity type to be AWS service. And for the use case, we want to select Lambda. And let's hit next. So in here, we will attach our two required policies to this role. The first one being Beanstalk, so I'll just type beans and then hit enter and search for the administrator access. Yeah, this one. So we'll select that, and we need one more role, which is S3. And again, we need the S3 full access. So we'll attach that and hit next. We'll give our role a name. I'll say Lambda underscore Beanstalk, and here is policies, all the policies we need, and we'll hit create role. Alright, it has created a role. We can find it here. So now let's go to Lambda and create our two functions. So here we are in the Lambda console. Let's create our function. Let's go to create function, and then we want to create a function from the scratch. We will name our function terminate, and for the runtime I'll select Python. The architecture, it's fine. For the execution role, we will select the role that we just created. So here is our role. Then let's create the function. Yeah, it's done. So if we go down a bit, here's where we write our function. I already have the code for the two functions. So if we go to my VS Code, so here are the two function codes that we need. I'll share the GitHub links for this code. So let's just copy the terminate code from here. And let's go back to our Lambda functions and paste it all here. We have to give it an environment ID, which we'll get from our Beanstalk environment. If we go back to our environment and click on the environment name, we can see the environment ID up here. So let's just copy it from here and paste it here. Let's save the file, and and it says changes not deployed, so we will deploy it. So it successfully deployed our function. Now all we gotta do is test it. So let's hit test, give our test name a name. So I'll say terminate again, and let's create save. And we have to do the test again. So yeah, it says terminating environment. So if we go back to our Beanstalk environment in here and we refresh the page, yeah, we can see our Beanstalk environment is terminating. So that is working. So while this environment is terminating, let's just go back to Lambda and create our second function. So here we are, back again. Let's create one more function. For this, I'll name it rebuild. And we're gonna do the same thing, Python 3. For the execution role, we'll do the same Lambda Beanstalk role and hit create function. For this one, we will go back to our VS Code and copy this rebuild code and paste it all here. And we have to give the app ID again, which we can probably copy from the previous Lambda function. Here's the previous one. Okay, here it is. Let's copy this and paste in here. And let's save the file. And again, we have to deploy this and create a test. We'll say rebuild, create save, and we can do the test again. But before that, we have to check if our Beanstalk environment has terminated or not. So yeah, okay, our environment has terminated, so we can test the function. So let's go back to rebuild function and hit test. Okay, it says restore environment. So now let's go back again to Beanstalk and refresh this page and hit the name. Okay, we can see Beanstalk is now updating our environment. That's another way of saying it's rebuilding the environment. Alright, so our Lambda functions are working. So the next thing we would do is create the 2 Amazon event bridge triggers for these functions to happen at a specific time. So let's get started with it. Okay, so here we are. Let's create a rule and we'll say terminate again, and we will do the schedule rule. Hit next, and in here we will define the time. For the minutes, I'll say 0. For the hours, I want my Beanstalk to be terminated at 10 p.m. in my local time, so I would do 22. And for the days of the month, we want all the days, so I'll just do this. And for the months, we want all the months. But for the days of the week, I will say Monday to Friday. And for the year, again, I'll say all year round. So this is a nice representation of the triggers that will happen. So if we go back to local time, alright, I can see it's saying 12 a.m. because I'm GMT plus 2, so I should do 20. So that should set it to 10 p.m., which is what I want. So let's hit next. And we'll select the target. I'll say Lambda functions, and we'll select the function terminate. That's it. Just hit next. And next again. So this gives a nice overview of what we just defined. Looks fine to me. Let's hit the create rule. Alright, one of our rules is created. We can see it here. It's enabled. We just need one another for the rebuild. So let's call this one rebuild. And we want another schedule. Hit next. For this one I'll do 0, and I want my environment to be rebuilt at say 8 AM. So I'll say 6 because I'm GMT plus 2 again. For the days of the month I'll do the same Monday to Friday, again all year round, and go to local time zone and it shows 8 AM, which looks fine. So let's hit next. Again we'll do Lambda functions and select the rebuild function this time. Hit next, next again, overview again, and create the rule. Okay, so we can see our 2 rules, and that's basically it. That's how you schedule your Beanstalk environment with Lambda functions. Alright, I hope you have learned something new today too. So that's it for this video. Have a good day.